Beacon Morning, the most news in the morning, period. Weekdays 6 Eastern.
17 bodies had now been recovered from the wreckage of Air France Flight 447, but the cause of last week's crash is still a mystery this morning. New reports say at least a dozen other flights traveling in the same area at around the same time had no problems with weather conditions, none at all. Joining me now is Captain John Cox. He's the president and CEO of Safety Operating Systems. He's flown Airbus jetliners and is familiar with their controls and their systems, and he's in Tampa for us this morning. John, it's great to see you this morning. What do you make of this idea that some 12 other planes flew through that area? Air France had 4 flights. A couple from Sao Paulo, one other one from Rio de Janeiro went through that area of thunderstorms without any kind of problems.
Well, I think that it says that the weather itself is probably not the single cause for this accident. This accident, like just about all that I've ever been associated with, is going to end up being a series of events, and we're going to end up having to learn that series one piece at a time to understand what happened.
Yeah, I mean, these things do seem, air crashes do seem to be a cascade of events, if history is any guide, unless there's some instantaneous catastrophic event like happened with TWA 800. Air France sent out some literature over the weekend regarding one of the airspeed indicator sensors. It's called a pitot tube, and there might be some potential problems with that. Has there been, in your knowledge, of this Airbus, which I know that you've flown the A320, I believe, not the 330, though you have gone in a simulator on the 330. What do you know about these potential problems with anomalous speed readings?
The fleet has shown a little bit of this issue to come up before. I'm aware of 3 or 4 previous cases in the fleet history, but it has typically been short duration. And so what we learned by the information that the airplane uplinked to the Air France maintenance facility is they had a lot of very confusing signals that the pilots would have been confronted with. And exactly what caused that, it could possibly be the pitot tubes or airspeed indications that would be causal in some ways, but why the crew was not able to satisfactorily determine which of the airspeed indicators was bad. There's a procedure for it, and where that procedure wasn't acted on properly or failed, that's going to be something the investigators are really going to have to look into carefully.
John, according to Air France, there's been some problems with this sensor icing over in certain conditions. Could that potentially have happened? You're at altitude, 35,000 feet, flying through this thunderstorm area. Could that sensor have possibly iced over and therefore given incorrect speed readings?
It's possible. Usually at cruise altitude, it is so cold that you really don't get a lot of icing. But this particular sensor has shown on rare occasion this icing issue to come up at cruise before. So I think the fact that there is something unique here, that as an accident investigator, when you find something unique, you really want to concentrate and look to see if that could have an effect on the accident.
And as you know, Captain, because you've flown these aircraft, the Airbus is a fly-by-wire system, which means it's all electronic controls that activate the control surfaces. And if you were to lose power, you would obviously lose your control of the aircraft. So there's a lot of redundant systems. But there has been a problem, as you mentioned, at cruise, and this really showed up, I guess, in October of last year. A Qantas airliner was flying in the South Pacific area. 3 hours into the flight, everything seemed to be going fine. The computer, which controls the aircraft with the autopilot on, suddenly got these different speed readings and went haywire, and thinking it was going too slow, put the plane into a dive to try to pick up some more speed. Apparently 100 people were injured as they were knocked into the roof of the cabin. Could something like that potentially have happened here? And while pilots easily recovered from that maneuver, if you're flying around thunderstorms with updrafts and cross currents and lightning in the area, could that have maybe caused a catastrophic cascade of events?
John, I don't think so. In the case of the Qantas airplane, the failure was from an Air Data Inertial Reference Unit, known as an ADIRU, and it broadcast some spurious information, and the airplane reacted. The autopilot system attempted to follow it. It is, although the ADIRU on the Air France accident airplane also displayed some problems, it was a failure type message. And so I don't believe that we're going to see anything that would connect these two. The Air France airplane has a number of system failures The Qantas airplane did not. Also, these ADIRUs are pretty reliable.
Right.
You don't see that. Additionally, the autopilot on the Air France airplane had disconnected. So it's you put all that together, and I don't believe we're going to end up seeing a correlation between the Qantas and the Air France airplanes.
So what do you think about the potential for foul play here?
As an investigator, until you know exactly what caused it, you need to leave everything on the table. I wouldn't rule it out, but there's been nothing right now that shows me that it would be a prime suspect.
Captain John Cox, it's great to talk to you this morning. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.